I've been listening to this guy online talk. His name is Cliffe something. I'm not even going to try and say his last name. He's a religious speaker. I'll put his name in the title. Cliffe something, Kne. I don't know how you say his last name. Anyway, super brilliant man, I think. When he talks, he's very Christian, very religious. He's almost like a preacher, but he doesn't convince people of religion by just yelling, "You need to accept Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior. You need to do this. You need to do that." He just talks to people about the truth, and he leads people to the truth. And the fact that he has been he seems to me like one of the most rational Christians I've heard preach or talk, and he seems reasonable and believable to me. But also, there are some things he says that I question, like. And he also says that skepticism is important, that it's in the Bible, that you should believe in skepticism. And I'm not saying these things because I think everyone should be a Christian. I'm saying these things because I think they are good values to have across the board. And I think all religions have a lot of good values across the board. I mean, there might be some bad ones here and there. I'm not really fully educated on all the religions. But in the end, I feel like most religious people tend to find the good values, and at least you hope that's the case. But my point with this Cliffe guy is, I just watched him talking to a guy, and he says, we think that bad things shouldn't happen, that horrible things shouldn't happen, but what if we need both sides? Like, you need the rain to understand the sun. You need the snow to understand the warm. You need the cold to understand the warm. You always need the other side. Like, I can't think of a single thing in existence where one side can outweigh the other side and everything is fine. I mean, like, in terms of just balance is always so consistent and uniform across everything. Like, what was this guy saying? And this guy was saying, how do I know what's good without the bad? How could I know what's bad without the good? And Cliffe says, you could say that Cliffe takes it a little extreme, but he says, you could think that you have to murder someone and kill them to fully understand that murder is bad. And I'm not seeing, this guy asked an honest question, and that's not really the question I was seeing. And I don't think Cliffe was trying to make this guy to be a bad guy or anything, but he said, like, you don't need to kill to know that it's bad. And that's true. There are moral absolutes, and Cliffe talks about that too. There are moral absolutes where, some things we can say in black and white terms that this is wrong or this is right. And, I mean, maybe not perfect black and white terms, but, there are more black and white terms there are black and white terms that are more black and white than gray, if that makes sense. Like, there's a lot of gray. There's a ton of gray. There's probably more gray than black and white, but there is some black and white areas. And if those areas aren't black and white, then maybe they are more black and white than they are gray. Maybe a little bit. It's a darker black and a lighter black and a darker white, that they like two grays. That might sound stupid and unreasonable, unmeaningful, but I'm seeing some sense there. But this kid, he's saying, like, how could we possibly understand, and how could life exist if we don't have both sides of the same coin? Like, we always need balance. So it's like, I know for all of us, it's like we can't possibly see the reasoning behind a child dying in a car accident. Like, this person did nothing to deserve that. They didn't this child wasn't driving. They didn't cause the car to go. They had absolutely no control over this. Like, let's say a child died in a car accident. They didn't have any control over that. And it's like, how could you possibly find meaning in that? Well, I can. It's not the most satisfying thing, but let's say this kid was going to be force-fed drugs somehow, or, he was going to be peer pressured into trying drugs, and he was going to spiral, and his life was going to become just absolutely horrible. Or he was going to get kidnapped and sold into slavery or something, Like, we cannot fully rule out that this kid's life would have been better if he lived. We can't confirm that he didn't go to heaven and things didn't get better for him. And I mean, that's the smallest chance, but we can't rule that out entirely. And I think a true scientific mindset, you have to think of everything, even though it's a 99%, even though it could be a 99% chance that this kid died in this car accident and it didn't it didn't better his life, it didn't better his family's life, but there's still a chance that it did. How could we possibly know all the effects of this in the future, years down the line? And it's like every time you look at any situation, these people talking to Cliff, I can see that there is a chance that every person's intentions were good. There is always a chance, a possibility that everyone's intentions were good. They were just trying to learn and understand. And like this kid, I think he's saying like we always need both. We always need the balance. How can you say? It's truly hard to understand exactly what that kid's point was. Like sometimes words in conversations, they're just not sufficient for these ideas. Like when you think about it in simple terms, like how do you know what things are bad, or how would you know if anything is good if you didn't have bad? It's like your free time has value because you have work. If you never work, it's not like Saturday has value. It's other things that give value to them. Not necessarily. It can be. I think these honest conversations that I've been having with myself and with other people have just taught me so much more than I've learned in the last few years. I've thought there's not much more to learn in life. You can't really learn from everyone, but you can learn from every single thing, and there's no reason not to. I mean, hmm. And also Cliff has this way he talks where I trust that he's doing things for the right reasons. The way he talks in response to every student. These students can come up and yell horrible things at him. He'll preach Christianity or preach the truth, more how I would put it. Preach the truth on these college campuses. Sometimes people come up and yell at him, call him names, call him horrible things, say horrible things. I'm sure he has like security as well. Like he's a famous guy, and people are crazy, and he's still doing this. And he says, it's more valuable to me to change minds than it is to worry too much about my own safety. And maybe he thinks the truth and positive intentions will protect him. God will protect him. We can't know, but so far he has been protected. I mean, I truly hope that he continues to be safe and help people. I mean, so many of these people come up and talk to him, and I think they truly respected how he talked to them, most importantly, and the things that he said. I think if people don't talk to you with respect, it's so difficult to want to listen to them. I mean, imagine some guy comes at you and says, "You don't accept Jesus. You're horrible. You're a sinner. You're going to hell." Like, obviously, that person's not treating you with as much respect as Cliff, who's saying, "Okay, you don't believe in God. Why?" And just trying to understand your perspective, genuinely, respectfully trying to understand another person's perspective. And I mean, so often it can feel so easy to just write people off and be rude to them instead of trying to help them understand things. But I think we owe it to the truth and to those around us to speak the truth, to get people to the truth, to guide them to the truth. Even if they don't want to listen, then, maybe just you ask them questions. Like if someone says to Cliff, "You're a horrible person, you're racist, you're evil, you're causing violence," and he can just say, like, "Do you believe those things?" Or just ask them a question like, "Where did you hear these things about me?" Or "Have you seen evidence of this?" Like, because Cliff knows he's not out to cause violence. Maybe somebody takes his things and gets really upset and turns violent. I wouldn't blame Cliff for that. But either way, no matter how people interact with you, you can always be respectful and interact positively with every human and say, all right, this person could be belligerent and incoherent and angry right now, but I've been that person before. I've been angry. I've been unable to console. I've been unable to be reasoned with before. I've been unwilling to listen. And I think in those times, if someone would have talked to me like Cliff with just pure respect and asked me neutral questions that made me think and not listen to other people's thoughts, then I could have learned a lot more and learned more clearly, had more respect for other people. Like just having a person like Cliff, he's a hugely respected person, and if he shows respect to you, you can't help but appreciate that and say, "Wow, this man treated me with respect. He treated me like a human." That's admirable. And I think so often those admirable things are, we think they're admirable for one reason and they're admirable for 50,000 reasons. It's like the uniformity, the consistency of the world. When you have good intentions and you do things for good reasons and the right reasons, and you recognize that, and the good things just compound. I've said this before, I think, but I'm genuinely starting to believe it more and more every day. I've always been a huge religious skeptic. I had my time in high school where I thought kind of 50-50, less than 50-50 even. Maybe there's only a 20% chance of God. That's what I thought at sometimes. I don't think I ever truly believed that there was no chance of God, but I thought, I'm not sure that it's more likely than not that there is a God. And now I'm definitely leaning towards, I'm at least, am I? I might be 51% in favor of God. I'm not sure, but I'm definitely a lot closer to 50% belief in God. And, from a scientific standpoint, I can't rule that out. I cannot entirely rule that out. So I'm not going to assume it's the gospel truth, no pun intended, but I'm not going to assume it's the 100% truth religion and all that, but I'm going to say it could be, it's possible, and I shouldn't write things off just because there's a 50% chance that they're not true. I should try and learn about them and try and understand them, and maybe in the process of doing that, I will believe more, or I will learn more about the world, and that's just what I want to do right now. I like talking to myself. I like reasoning through things out loud. I think you learn more about yourself and your own thoughts and how to organize your own brain just by talking to yourself out loud, like I have for these last 12 minutes and 19 seconds. I feel like a lot more grounded than I was before this. I felt like I watched that video about Cliff talking to a student, and I was like, I feel like I need to talk this through, play this out in my head, or, I did play it out in my head, and then I said, I think I kind of need to talk it out. And just talking in a way that other people can understand you is a good way to simplify and think differently, I think, or, slightly differ in your ways of thinking, and that helps give some perspective and a different viewpoint. Like, I just watched a video about, you could see a fish in a fish tank, right? Let's say this is the fish tank, right? You could have a camera looking this way and a camera looking this way, and both cameras could, if you're a person and you're both cameras, you could say, my viewpoint is the correct one. And you could be right. From your perspective, it could be the correct viewpoint. But from their perspective, theirs could be the correct viewpoint either. It's like, how can anyone claim that their perspective, that their viewpoint is more valuable than anyone else's? That seems... in truth, some people's perspectives are more valuable than others. Like, you have a guy like Albert Einstein who just purely ahead of his time intellectually. We're still trying to understand his theories of physics and relativity and all that. We understand it a lot, but we don't fully understand it yet, right? So it's like, at a certain point, some perspectives might have more value than others, but assuming anyone's perspective is more or less valuable than yours without a plethora of information and evidence and experience with this person seems arrogant and unsustainable. Seems like a way to stop learning, stop growing, stop learning from other people, and that's just something you don't want to do. Life gets really boring when you take other humans out of the situation. If you want to go live in the woods alone for the rest of your life, I can see some joy in that. I've thought about that before. Maybe a tiny part of me wouldn't hate that, but I think I would go insane. I need life. I need people. I need to talk to people. Especially right now, I feel like my brain's in a point where I need to exercise it. I need to use it and learn. And otherwise, like, you think about it, like from a physical standpoint, like one day I won't be able to play basketball and run around and go to the gym every day. And for that reason, I should do it now, because there's a chance that I won't be able to. There's a chance that my brain won't, there's a chance I could die, or my brain will start deteriorating, and I won't be able to think at this level in a few years. And, it would truly be then, when I couldn't do it, that I would understand, and that I feel like most people would understand the value of those things that they missed out on. It's like old people are always like, man, I wish I just ran. I wish I just ran across the country, or I wish I did this. And it's like, well, now they can't. And so now they really know what they wanted to do. It's like, imagine if you couldn't do anything today. What would you want to do? And now you're finding things that are really valuable to you for the right reasons, I think. And, I also think that, I'm trying to understand the world better, but I also I often think that I understand the truth, and I think I can have arrogance to that often. Like, I understand this well enough to move on to the next thing, but you can always understand every single thing a little more. And all those little things, all the understandings of the little tiny things, they add up. They add up so much. Like I talk about, the compounding effects of good intentions and positive, doing things for the right reasons, they just seem to always have these compounding incredible effects. And it's like, again, there's a lot of things that I can't explain with words very well, that experience has taught me, that I like to talk about to myself, to other people. I think it helps me learn. It might help other people learn. And, for me personally, I think I'm going to watch these videos soon. I've already watched, these videos I post, I watch most of them before I post them, but the last video and this video, they're a little longer, and I'm kind of just, I'm a little busy right now, so I haven't watched the last few videos, but I feel like I'm doing these things for me. I'm recording myself and talking to myself for my own learning and my own growth, and when you do things for the right reasons like that, they tend to compound. So I don't know, maybe the world needs to hear me. Maybe the world does need to hear me, and I'm going to get crazy famous. I don't know. I don't think so. Probably not. You know how many podcasts there are nowadays? Anyway, I don't even know if this is a podcast, but my point is that you should do things for the right reasons. Do things that you want to do if you want to do them for the right reasons. Like me, I'm gonna talk to myself. People might call me crazy. People might call me stupid, loser, whatever. I can see what they're saying, right? It's weird to talk to yourself in your basement, and talking to yourself is often seen as a sign of insanity, but it also can be the most important thing in your life, to talk out loud, say things out loud, play things out. I mean, that's just a part of life. You talk to people, and you learn things from talking to people. You learn things from other people. Maybe talking out loud as if you're talking to another person teaches you about yourself. We can't truly rule that out. It all comes back to, you can't rule anything out 100%. Nothing is 100%. So closing the door to those things that could be true, fully closing that door just closes off so much knowledge that you could gain. And, a lot of these statements, I feel like, especially myself, 4 years ago, a lot of these, they sound like empty moral statements to me. Like, they don't actually have meaning. Like, people just want to sound good. I don't know, those statements, they've always been like, all right, this person's not living in reality. They're living in fairy tale land. They think everything is awesome. They're not living in the real world. But often these people they are living in the real world. You just can't see that. Like, maybe by the way they talk, they sound like they're in this euphoric fairy tale land, but in the real world, they're going to work every day. They're supporting their family. They're not like just playing video games all day or doing drugs all day, or not always. So you can't rule that out. You can't rule anything out. And wow. Yeah, this is a long one. This is a yap session and a half, so I'm gonna probably end it here, but there's so much more to learn. And if you think that's not true, then you're right. And if you think it is true, you're right. I mean, you have the choice, you have the power to choose. I think that's something I've realized through experience in the last few years, and I'm so happy I've learned that. So if you have listened this far, I hope you've gained something from this. I hope you've learned something from hearing me talk. If anything, just how I think, and saying, all right, this is how this person's train of thoughts connect, and I feel like you could see pretty easily how I'm talking and how my thoughts are connecting, or I hope you can see that. So, and if you want, like, not just if you want, if you feel the need to leave a comment, if you feel like you want to leave a comment about anything and ask me a question about anything, please do. I think often the world just brings things to you that you need. Like, someone could be feeling the need to ask me a question right now, but they don't want to, but I need to hear that question. It's going to shape me. It's going to humble me. It's going to tell me, like, questioning your own views and skepticism are so important. It's just reality. That's how life is authentically. So I want to be more authentic, genuine, real. I want to live in the real world. So leave me a hate comment. If you're thinking, God, this guy's the most arrogant piece of shit ever, he thinks he knows everything, why does he talk like that? I want you to tell me that, because I think that's going to tell me something. Maybe you're not 100% true. Maybe you're a little angry. Maybe you're a little angsty, but there's definitely some truth to that too. There's truth to everything. There's truth to comedy. There's truth to nonsense. There's some logic and truth to everything. So I think if you're thinking I'm incredibly arrogant right now, and maybe I'm thinking I'm a little arrogant right now, maybe that's why that thought came to my head. But if you're thinking I'm arrogant right now, I need to hear that, I think. I genuinely think I need to hear that. And it's a shame that society has taught us that we shouldn't say these things to each other, because I feel like I've gotten to a mature point where I want people to tell me everything they notice about me, because I see value in what people notice about me. But, people don't want to offend or upset, and it's like, I get that too. I get both sides, but I wish everyone just wanted to learn and grow like I did. Imagine the compounding effects. Imagine. All right. Yeah, I am going to stop now, because I'm just getting... It's hard to... Yeah. I'm tired.